Good evening, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us on another edition of the Milford Informer. I am your host, Tim Coet. Tonight we have just one news story to recap for you. It was the biggest news item of the week and one that will have a significant impact on the town moving forward. Of course, I'm talking about the local election. A total of 3,136 members of the community, or roughly 17% of Milford's 18,072 registered voters, traveled to their polling places this past Tuesday to cast their ballot in the town's municipal election. Once the polls closed at 8 p.m., Milford TV was live with comprehensive election coverage. Over the course of the evening, we had a chance to interview a number of the candidates involved in the various races, and we also brought you real-time updates on the vote totals from Milford's 8 precincts. We've compiled some of the key moments from our coverage, so let's take a look at what took place on election night 2017. Welcome into Milford Town Hall, as Milford TV is happy to present this live coverage of election night here in Milford for 2017. I am Tim Coet, Milford TV News and Sports Director. I will be joined over the course of the evening by a couple of Milford TV members, Al Correa and Kevin Rudden. We have a busy night ahead of us here tonight, as we will have comprehensive coverage of this election day in Milford for 2017. So again, we do want to get to the contested races. This is what everybody has been focused on really since January, even before then. 5 contested races on this year's ballot. 2 of those races involve the Board of Selectmen voting for 2 members of the Board of Selectmen, a rarity in this 2017 race. The 3 candidates involved in the 2-year seat, of course, that will be the replacement for Brian Murray, who officially resigned from the Board of Selectmen today. So the 2 years remaining on Brian Murray's seat, 3 candidates in that race. Those candidates, Harold Rhodes, Michael Walsh, and Jessica Lebrecht. And for the full 3-year seat on the Board of Selectmen, incumbent Bill Buckley, seeking his 5th term on the board, running against the building commissioner here in Milford, John Erickson. And other contested races on the ballot: for Planning Board, incumbent John Cook faced challenger Mike Visconti. For the Board of Assessors, it was Joshua Leosh facing Charles Scaff. And for the constable position, 3 candidates in that race: Nadine Ledoux, Robert Sheedy, and Scott Vecchiola.
For the few and the brave who came out to vote, I want to say thank you. I mean, I'm always amazed when you see races like this, where you've got 2/3 of the selectmen being chosen tonight. You've got school committee members being chosen, and what are we at, 16, 17%?
We went from a very dismal 1,100 people voting as of 1 o'clock this afternoon to nearly 3,000 by 7 o'clock. So we're somewhere about 16.5%. That was an hour before the polls closed.
What I can tell you is the vote total for the election is in 3,135 total votes were cast in this 2017 local town election.
I agree with Al. It's kind of disheartening when you sit here and you think, wow, 16.5% is a good turnout.
You know, Kevin,
It should be more like 70 or 80.
I say all the time, you can improve things through education, and I think where we need to improve things is we need to teach the younger generation. Now, what is that generation? I'm not sure, but we need to teach the younger generation that you can make a difference by going out to the ballot and casting your vote. So today, for example, first thing this morning, we saw the seniors come out.
They always come out.
The worst of weather.
Yep.
They were coming out. Then after that, we saw, again, our age group come out, and then tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock, we saw our age group out again, because we understand the importance of a vote. But what we need to teach the younger generation is that you have an opportunity to make a difference, and that difference is through a vote.
How do you feel about the seat you're running against? I mean, you really have one opponent because Ms. Lebrecht has not actively campaigned since getting her name on the ballot. So how do you feel you did?
I think I feel I did very well. I think Harold did a great job. At the end of the day, hopefully I'm gonna pull it off tonight. I talk openly that Harold was phenomenal on the sidewalk. Usually I'm an animal on the sidewalk. Due to personal reasons, I couldn't be there all the time. But, I think both of us did a great job.
How do you feel about the election in general?
I'm feeling very good about the day. We had a great day out there. I'm excited to get the results, obviously. It was a very good race. I've known my opponent for my entire life.
In fact, he made a point of telling me he drove your school bus.
He was my
when
bus
you were in
driver.
elementary
Yeah,
school.
he was my bus driver. And he's a great guy. I've known him for a long, long time. I wish him well, and I wish him much success no matter what
Charlie is
happens.
a great guy, so.
So it's been fun. This has been a heck of a learning curve in the sense of being in your first election and your first campaign, but I've enjoyed it immensely. And it's
Now,
been a lot of
I know
fun.
you had contemplated other offices
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
Why assessor? Just a better fit for your life?
When the seat was open, unfortunately, due to the passing of Mr. Bonasaro, after that happened, I really felt like, wow, this is a place where I can have an immediate impact with my knowledge base, and it's something that I understand and am fairly passionate about. So I felt that this was a fantastic place for me to get involved and to give back to the community in the capacity that I can.
What impact can you have on the board?
You know, I'm not 100% sure what kind of impact I can have yet. But I know that I think that I can have in the sense of being able to help with the knowledge base of it, being able to help with providing an understanding immediately, not probably a gigantic learning curve in the sense of understanding valuation. So in a short amount of time, I think I can be up and running and providing value to the board. And then we'll see what I can do as I grow into it.
Anything you saw special about this election?
Truthfully, no, other than the weather. I think in my opinion, the weather kept a lot of people away, obviously. I don't think it was the candidates or anything at the contests. Although I figured with 2 selectmen contests, they'd come out.
And it's amazing, because if you think about it, Will Kincaid, with his 1 year of experience,
Yep.
could be the most senior selectman tomorrow
Exactly,
morning.
Exactly,
You know, so
Exactly.
no matter which candidates you favor,
right.
the idea that could be a reality, you would think would bring people out.
Exactly.
And these are our unofficial numbers as we calculate on the fly. We have precincts 1, 3, 4, and 6 in so far. And the total votes now, the total votes overall, 653 for Bill Buckley, 630 for John Erickson, 824 for Mike Walsh, 365 for Harold Rhodes, and 65 for Jessica Lebrecht. For Planning Board, 635 for John Cook, 520 for Mike Visconti. For Board of Assessors, 766 for Josh Leosh, 444 for Charles Scaff. These are overall vote numbers now with 4 precincts reporting. For Constable, 471 for Nadine Ladeau, 372 for Robert Sheedy, and 312 for Scott Vecchiola.
I'm sorry. I came down here already knowing the results because, we have people obviously at the polls that
Oh, I
call them
know.
in.
So
This
obviously.
is good, because those who want to go to bed
Yeah,
now
get to go to
can
bed.
either wait and see the spread or go to bed.
There's one last
No, I'm
thing.
not going to that movie.
There's one last thing I wanted to say.
Yes.
And regardless of who anybody voted for in this election,
Yep.
I intend to represent those people, the individual citizens of Milford, regardless of who they voted for, the decisions made, and I appreciate it, respect their decision, as I would if it went the other way. I want to say this: there were a lot of candidates in this election, and I congratulate all those candidates who stepped out, got out of their comfort zone, put their names on ballots, and actually campaigned hard to work for these seats. I hope the voters of Milford appreciate all of their efforts because they worked hard. They worked hard for you, and they worked hard to represent this community. We've got a great community, and I'm very proud to be a
Bill,
part of it.
Regardless of how people felt about a candidate before the election, you got to. It's like our national elections. Whether you're a Trump supporter or not, he's our president. You got to hope he does well.
Yeah, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't think Russia was involved in this election, but I think we can be safe to say that.
But we're checking the Bulgarian.
All right, we are.
I will add one thing to what you said. To all the people who ran, it's so easy to sit at home and complain
It is,
about
it is.
and complain. They got up, they got their nomination papers signed, they went out, and even if they didn't give a strong campaign, they went out and they tried. And we really should compliment them on the fact that they tried,
You bet.
because at least that beats
Precinct
sitting there and
6.
complaining. They tried to do something, no matter how many votes they got.
And look at all the people today that were standing out of the election polls on the coldest, drizzliest day, getting their feet soaked, standing in the rain for their candidates. You have to congratulate them, and you have to congratulate the candidates that were standing there with them.
I know when I went by the polls at around between 1 and 2 o'clock today, I saw a bunch of very soaking wet people wearing ponchos,
bet.
gloves,
One of them was you at 7
Yeah,
o'clock.
yeah,
I was going to say.
drinking coffee to stay warm and shivering, so devoted supporters.
But, lastly, I just have to thank my supporters and the people that voted for me, the people that worked hard right through the process. We rekindled some old relationships. We strengthened ones that already existed. And to those people, I'll be forever in debt to those people who worked so hard to stand out in some of the coldest of days with snow, standouts, walking, knocking on doors, helping me out. It means a lot to me, and I just can't express it enough tonight. I want to thank those people.
You're going to take selectman seat. What do you do with school committee?
Well, as I've stated through the whole campaign, my plan was and is to stay.
For your last
But I
year.
also have to say that there are some very, very viable candidates that have come forward to me
Who could be appointed
that could be appointed
if you resigned.
if I resign.
Now, just the process on that, let's get it nailed down, just in case you decide to,
Yep,
is they apply to the selectmen and you, then the school committee and the selectmen meet, and the majority of both boards pick a winner.
that's correct.
So there are 7 school committee members.
7 school committee
And
members.
3 selectmen.
Correct.
Well, actually, there would be 6 no, you don't have 2 votes, so there would be 6 school committee members.
Correct. I
3
would now only
selectmen
have
for 9, so you would need 5.
5 votes.
pick somebody.
To pick somebody. And that's something that, I have to be honest with you, that I'm considering. I think that, until the last 2 weeks where I've had, again, very, very viable, very interested people saying, if you would consider stepping down on the school committee, I would like an opportunity for appointment. And I said, well, that, I don't have a problem with that, but you have to understand at the end of the day, you got to run for election. So you might get an appointment, which is and we talk about it
Till
today.
next April.
Thank you, and you're in the snow, and you're in the rain, and you're knocking on doors, and you're spending money on an ad. So I want to make sure you're committed to that role.
But that would give you a chance to prove yourself?
Good people for school committee. Why didn't they run?
That's why I just brought up the last point that I stated is
Yeah,
that,
you
is
had
that I
2
said to them
incumbents.
is that it's one thing to be appointed, okay? It's another thing, you have to understand that eventually you're gonna have to run. So if,
Right, it's
why
the-
do you look for the appointment? I just want you to clearly understand that at some point, you got the legwork.
But it's the easy way in.
Yeah,
That's what bothers me.
Well, it's not that it's necessarily the easy way out. What I want them to understand, Kevin, is that
Oh, it
that
did-
you're going to be out
They're
there.
out next May.
You're
if
going to
they-
be out there
they're
like
out next
today.
April if they don't run.
Well, wait a minute. If they took over your seat, they were appointed,
Yep,
do they automatically run next April?
They
Or
have
is it?
to.
they have to.
It's an unexpired
So
term.
it's not a 2-year,
No.
It's the rest of the term.
I have
but again, I would bring up that if I really wanted to run next April, boy, I would fight for this appointment because it's going to give me a leg up. I get to prove to the voters, hey, I can do the job.
right.
Thank you, kind sir.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Michael.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We do have all 8 precincts reporting in. You've seen some of the numbers already pop up on our graphics, but just to go over our initial unofficial results with all 8 precincts reporting, these are the overall numbers. We have Bill Buckley retaining his seat on the 3-year Board of Selectmen seat by a total of 1,609 votes to 1,419 for John Erickson. For the race for the 2-year selectman seat, it will be Mike Walsh, the projected winner, at 1,899 votes, 954 votes for Harold Rhodes, and 136 votes for Jessica Lebrecq. For the planning board, with all 8 precincts reporting the overall numbers, John Cook will retain his seat by a margin of 1,483 votes to Mike Visconti's 1,239. For the Board of Assessors, it will be Josh Leosh with an overall vote total of 1,926. Charlie Scaff getting 929 votes. And for the constable seat, again, a close race. Nadine Ladeau we have as the projected winner with a vote total of 1,135. Robert Sheedy at 892 and Scott Vecchiola at 654. So those are our projected overall numbers now with all 8 precincts reporting. A fascinating night here comes to a close. Any final thoughts from you, gentlemen?
No, again, we've been beating the dead horse about, to the 3,000 people who turned out, thank you.
Absolutely. 100% thank
To
you.
the 15,000 who didn't, please next time consider taking that long drive across town, those 4.5 minutes of driving and that 15 yards of cold weather that you have to run across to choose who, number one, will be setting policy for how our children spend 6 hours a day, and number two, how our town is run.
Correct.
As the week went on, the town clerk's office released their official election results. Those final results saw the official vote count tick up by just 1 vote in each of the contested races. So for one final time, we want to roll through the results in each of the contested races in order to show you the official town results. For the Board of Selectmen, we begin with the 3-year seat, where incumbent Bill Buckley defeated challenger John Erickson by a margin of 51% to 45%. As you look at the vote totals on your screen, you'll see Mr. Buckley's victory was by a mere 189 votes, proving once again just how crucial each and every vote truly is in a town election. Taking a look at the race for the 2-year unexpired term for Selectmen, you can see this race was not nearly as close. Mike Walsh enjoyed a solid victory over his 2 opponents, collecting just over 60% of the vote. Harold Rhodes, despite a very well-run campaign, finished with 30% of the vote, and Jessica Lebrecht took home a little over 4%. Mr. Walsh will now take over the seat vacated by State Representative Brian Murray. The race for Planning Board was too close to call for the majority of election night. In the end, it was the incumbent John Cook who pulled away, gathering 47% of the vote. The challenger in the race, Mike Visconti, had a strong showing but came up short, ending the night with 39% of the vote. For the 1 year remaining on an unexpired term on the Board of Assessors, Joshua Leosh swept all 8 of Milford's precincts. He defeated fellow challenger Charles Scaff 61% to 29%. And finally, for the 2-year unexpired term for Constable, Nadine Ladeau earned the victory, taking home 36% of the vote. It was a fairly tight race between Ms. Ladeau and Robert Sheedy, with Mr. Sheedy losing by just 242 votes. Scott Vecchiolo, who was unable to participate in the public forums throughout the campaign season due to health reasons, finished the night with 20% of the vote. So those are your official results. Bill Buckley will serve a 5th and final term on the Board of Selectmen. He confirmed on election night that this will indeed be his final term as a selectman. He will be joined on the board by Mike Walsh, who, as you heard in our election night recap, may consider stepping down from the school committee, which would lead to a vote by both the selectmen and the school committee on a 1-year appointment to fill Mr. Walsh's seat. John Cook will add 3 more years onto his tenure on the planning board, which will push him over 3 decades serving on that board. Josh Leosh will serve on the Board of Assessors for the next year, and Nadine Ladeau will fill a constable position in Milford for the next 2 years. And there you have it. Milford's town election for 2017 is officially in the books. And now let's take a look at this week's upcoming events. Coming up on Saturday, the Waters Corporation will be hosting an on-site career fair. Waters is home to one of the largest on-site manufacturing plants in the state of Massachusetts, and they are searching for machining and assembly workers. Interviews for career opportunities at their facility will take place at the career fair. Again, the career fair takes place on Saturday, April 8th at Waters Corporation on 34 Maple Street from 8 a.m. to noon. To see a full list of job openings at Waters, log on to the website waters.com/careers. And also on Saturday, join the Knights of Columbus Valencia Council number 80 as they host a free Easter egg hunt. Families with children ages 2 to 8 are invited to attend this festive holiday event. Parents are also encouraged to bring a camera, as the Easter Bunny will be on hand for photo opportunities. The free Easter egg hunt is taking place on Saturday, April 8th at Draper Park from 10 a.m. to noon. And here's a heads up that on April 29th, the citizens from Milford will be holding their annual Milford Beautification Day. Gather family, friends, and neighbors to help beautify the community by picking up around town. Those interested in participating should meet at the parking lot across from Sacred Heart Church between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. to pick up supplies and receive instructions. The Milford Beautification Day is being held on Saturday, April 29th, beginning at 9 a.m. Unfortunately, we do not have any sports content to bring you this week. The home openers for Milford softball and baseball were both postponed due to poor field conditions as a result of the rain and snow we've received over the last week. We now hope to have our first spring sports coverage coming up on Wednesday when the Scarlet Hawks baseball team takes on Canton. We hope to have highlights from that game on next week's show, and we'll also provide an update on the standings for both baseball and softball. We hope you will join us for those stories and more next Friday night. In the meantime, from all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coette saying have a great week. So long, everybody.